is called, as you can see here, Youth at the Table, Integrating Young Voices in Road Safety Decision Making. As you know, the ministerial sessions ran over, so we're hoping that once that's finished, more and more people are going to be joining us in this session. But I just want to start by inviting our panelists on the stage. We have Mr. Nikorn Shamnong, the advisor to the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security in Thailand. Ms. Blanca Lopez, Vice Mayor of Guayaquil, Ecuador. Mr. Avi Silverman, Deputy Director of the FIA Foundation. Mr. Sovan Kong, Advisor to the National Road Safety Committee in Cambodia. And Mr. Robert Kalona, Board Member and Young Professional Committee Chair, Canadian Association of Road Safety Professionals, and a Youth Assembly Delegate. Please welcome to the stage and put your hands together for them, please. All right, so as our panelists join and have a seat with us, we're going to kick off in a few minutes. I'm just going to start by saying a little bit about who we are, who is Yours, and what is the work that we do. My name's Manpreet Daroch, and I'm the Deputy Director of Yours. We're an international NGO focusing on youth issues. As the biggest killer of young people, you know that road traffic crashes are a serious threat to human life, and none more than the young people. Every single day, over 1,000 young people die on the world's roads. And many of us, as young people, and many of the young people who are here in Marrakesh at the moment, have actually personally either witnessed a road crash, or know somebody who's been killed in one, or have suffered a road crash themselves and speak as survivors of it. And so it's super important to have young people at the decision-making table. We're going to explore a little bit with our panelists what that means. But I want to ask in the audience, how many of you are young people? Okay, quite a few. And how many are young at heart? How many people feel young at heart, right? So being young, in many ways, is a mentality, right? It's a feeling that we have that, I mean, I blinked my eyes and I became over 30, and I'm like, wow, I'm not really a young person anymore. But I still feel an affinity with young people and you know, a connection to the youth cause. So the reality is that if you're 15 to 35 years old, you're more likely to be killed in a road traffic crash than anything else in the world. You know, and that's an alarming statistic that's been the case for over a decade. And so that's the stark reality. Over 1,000 young people every day are dying on the world's roads. And often young people are not part of those solutions or those decisions that need to be made when it comes to their lives and the policies that are placed on them rather than involving them. But I'm happy to say we have some really incredible champions of youth and road safety action. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And we had just come off the back of a World Youth Assembly. And the World Youth Assembly was on Saturday and Sunday, 15th and 16th, in this very room, actually. And we had that youth energy. You know, we had young people from over 70 countries, nearly 150 young people. And you can see some of them wearing the hoodies like mine. And it was you know, an opportunity for us to say, enough is enough. Young people have had enough of their peers dying on the world's roads. And so there's a commitment, there's a passion, there's an energy from young people. You know, any of these young people that you speak to will tell you, with the Global Youth Statement, what we stand for and why young people need to be part of the solution. So some people, I suppose, are still not convinced about young people. They're not really, or maybe they're even fearful of young people taking their jobs, or, you know, what do you know? We're a paternalistic society. We tell you what's right and wrong, like a parental kind of an approach. But we've seen that with the power of young people and their ideas, their innovation, their creativity, we can actually create projects and programs and local actions that are really innovating the world of road safety. So I just want to start with our panelists. And I just want to start with an open question to everyone, and maybe we start from the far left. And we just have the question is, why young people? Why do we need young people in road safety? Because as we know, road safety is not necessarily the most exciting topic. It's not the most, we have this phrase, it's not the most sexy topic, right? I don't know if it needs to be sexy to engage young people, but young people are engaged in creativity. They want to be involved in things that really ignite their passions, right? So why do we need young people in the decision-making table, and why should they be part of the solution? So we'll start at the end with my colleague, and yeah, just tell us your name once more, and of course, 2 minutes just to tell us a little bit about why young people at the table.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. My respect to the facilitator and to the panelists here. So my name is Kung Sawan. You can call me Sawan, the advisor to the National Road Safety Committee. I worked many years in road safety since I was young, and now we are still young, even young by age or young by heart to save life. So why young people are so important? I think like in Cambodia, we look into the population, the age groups, also the young age group is above, plus those working age group about 90% already, plus like 5 to 14, 30% plus 33 or 34, and then another 60 is like working age. And this need to communicate effectively how they can ensure that they drive safer on the road, and they feel everyone using the road are their family that they have to taking care of. So, right, the young people can communicate effectively. When you work with the young, you feel energetic. Let them play, let them think, and let them lead, and then you will see the result. So, yes, you need to engage, not just to listen, but let them in and talk. So that will be a great result to save life, I'm sure.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, the energy that young people bring. I think a lot of people, when they actually open the door, they feel the energy, and they're like, wow, I've just been sitting in an office with my colleagues, and these young people come in and bring this fresh energy. And not just that, the ideas, the innovation, the solutions that you mentioned, opening the doors for them. So thank you so much, Savan, for your reflections. Let's go to yourself over here, my colleague. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do and that response to that question.
Okay, thanks, Manpreet. Hi, everyone. My name is Robert Colonna. I'm very excited to be on this panel and share some of my thoughts, so thank you for inviting me to be on this. So I think when we look at the value that youth can bring, youth can really give us a fresh perspective and then also some innovative solutions that can help modernize some of these old and outdated policies and programs. Youth have life experience, right? We're the ones who've lived on the roads. We have been in those situations. We know some of the challenges and we know some of the dangers, and we're able to share those experiences. Now, our experiences can really help shape policy and programs and get a better understanding of, how can we create some of these policies, programs that are culturally and contextually relevant to help make policies more impactful and more accurate. Now, I want to share a quick story. So last year, I was fortunate to become a father. So now I look at this with a bit of a different lens, like many of you, because now it's not just myself on the roads, it's my son. And I want to navigate, how can he go through this life safely and not experience some of the same risks that I've experienced growing up. Like, I remember stories, we used to cross a street and there was no crosswalk, so we'd have to jaywalk. We had people in high schools, including some of my friends, who would just go driving out for fun as soon as they get their license and fit as many people in the car as you can. And these are just some stories, from a Canadian perspective. And I've heard a lot of stories over the past couple of days from youth in other countries, and they've been a lot more alarming. Now, another point here is that we're in the age of technology, and youth are at the forefront of that. So youth can really offer valuable perspectives in terms of how to utilize technology and harness it to shape new road safety policies and programs. Like, how do we use virtual reality? How do we use artificial intelligence, social media? It's not just about, getting a message to youth, but it's about them receiving the message. And youth have so much experience with that, and they can actually make those messages receptive. So there's a lot of value in terms of using youth and using them for road safety in general.
Thank you, Robert. And it's so interesting, as the young generation starts to transition into fatherhood, I'm in that boat as well. You do start to think, well, why was this system created with that not in mind as well? I think that we live in these sprawling metropolises of things where things just kind of evolve out of nowhere. And essentially what's happened is that safety's come second, And now it's on us and the young generation to start thinking that for the next generation, our children and our children's children, right? So thank you so much, Robert. I'm going to go over to Blanca, if you introduce yourself and your position, and a little bit about, why young people at the table? Why do we need youth? And you're a young person yourself, right? I know I won't say people your age, I don't know if that's fair, but you are very young, right? And you are a decision maker. So this is a really unique perspective that you bring to the table. So Blanca, I'd love to hear your reflections on that.
Hola, hola. Bueno, buenos días a todas y todos. No sé si tienen los cascos para entenderme. ¿Sí? Can you understand what I'm saying? So?
Can you hear me? Okay, good, fantastic. So, first and foremost, I would like to thank you. My name is Blanca Yote. I'm 24 years old. I am from Guayaquil in Ecuador. I am the assistant mayor for the town. I am the second authority of the town. And I would like to thank you for this opportunity that has been given to me to speak of my role. I am heavily involved in the work on sustainable mobility in a city which there are many challenges, but thanks to the active participation of our citizens, we are designing tools and systems to effect change, the change that our societies need. So why engage youth? Well, I do not think we could speak to sustainable development without speaking or engaging youth in a dialogue. What is the city that they need? We all know that globally it is the youth who are disproportionately victims of road accidents. If we want to organize awareness-raising campaigns, we must involve the youth and understand their issues. We will work on sustainable transport, improve public transport that is used by the youth to go to university, for example. We must speak with youth to have a better understanding of the transport system that they need so that they have a good quality transport system. If we are to design new transport systems, it is the youth that must be prioritized, especially those who do not have a car. We need to know what are the sectors that we need to focus on. Everything, of course, is important, and no one must be left behind. But to this end, we need to generate tools that involve youth with this upcoming generation and that will be taking the lead tomorrow. And I am proud that in my city we are involving the youth for a dignified future. Thank you very much.
It's a leading example of young people in the field, in a position of power, and also very conscious of the youth issues that we need. And, the idea of young people going to school or to education or to work and creating systems for them to go there safely is really admirable. I'm really interested in hearing more as we expand on this conversation as well. Avi, yourself, why young people at this table, and why do we need to hear that youth voice?
I mean, you probably don't need me to answer that question after you've heard from Vice Mayor Blanca about what she's doing about her city and the engagement of young people and how important that is. What I can say is that, to go off what the Vice Mayor said just now, we really do need quite a significant transformation in the way that we do our mobility and our transport, the way that we do our cities and the way we build our roads. The kind of business as usual that we're seeing at the moment, I think we can all agree, is not working. The amount of we'll come on to financing, I know, later in the panel, but the financing that is being put in place is not by any means solving the problem. It's adding to the problem. We're sitting here in in 2025, and the level of road traffic fatalities is the same as it was last time we sat here at a ministerial in 2020, it's certainly not where we thought we would be, where we had our first ministerial, when we had the ministerial when Youth for Road Safety was first created. We've not made the progress that there should be, and it really is down to the fact that it's business as usual isn't working. Now, what I would say very briefly is the best examples of where we can see the shift, the kind of shift that Blanca is trying to get in place in her city, where we're shifting to a much more sustainable approach to transportation, a much bigger focus on public transport, on connecting walking and cycling in with mass transit, a kind of approach that does not prioritize private vehicles, but instead prioritizes people, is the kind of approach that's needed. And we see that it's best done when young people are not just engaged in the process, but are leading that work. So, you know, we have numerous examples around the world, from Latin America, big cities like Rio de Janeiro. We're working with partners where I hate to say it, and I'm one of the older generation, so I can be rude about the older generation. The older generation, often male as well, I have to say, are the people that traditionally have been in charge. We're working with the urban transportation planners there, and the people that are in charge or have been in charge for a number of years are the people that are doing the business as usual, that are resisting the kinds of change that needs to be in place. And the people that are really pushing to get change in, to get a more sustainable approach to transportation, to look at how can we get in the kind of solutions that the city needs on walking and cycling, how can we get safe journeys for young people to school or to education, employment opportunities, how can we shift the kind of financing that's going into the city to be able to prioritize all of that. Those are the younger urban planners and the younger engineers. And it's absolutely vital that we support that work. Unfortunately, as a philanthropy, FIA Foundation, we put quite a lot of emphasis, or a hell of a lot of emphasis on supporting young people as they're going through into our partners and practitioners, and into working in roads agencies and authorities and in cities. We wish we could do more. We have limited resources ourselves. We'd like to see other philanthropies step up as well. We work very closely with a big philanthropy that you probably all be aware of. That I'll give you one example, the Botnar Foundation. They do a lot of work around youth engagement, and that's all very good, but we'd like to see it taken even a step further, where it's much more practically focused and it can really influence the kinds of policies and financing that needs to be there, and the sort of work that Blanca is leading in her city. So that's what we'd say over the next 5 years. That kind of work needs to be supported, and it needs to be very focused on kind of practical action and results, as opposed to just, you know, kind of broad youth engagement, which is great, don't get me wrong, and needs to be there. But what we'd like to see is the big priority focus on the kind of practical action that needs to be in place, professional development of young people going into mobility and transportation in cities and in authorities around the world, because that's where we're seeing some really effective work being taken forward.
Thank you, Avi. Broad spectrum of understanding road safety from multiple lenses, but the crucial question that we zoom in on is why young people at the table, you know, and what do they bring? What's the solution? And some of those practical examples that we talk about is all about giving young people that opportunity to lead change in their communities. Because we have this global youth statement, which we're going to share with everybody here and also our decision makers, that calls for that practical action on the ground. And that's super important. And we're going to dive into that a little bit more in this panel as well. Last but not least, same question, why young people at the table? So if you could introduce yourself for our audience, and we'll jump into that question.
Hello. My name is Nikon Jamnong. I work for road safety for a long time and worked for Ministry of Transport before. And I believe this is necessary for to be young people on the people because of in the past, last 50 years, I am the leader of young group like this before. And after that, I just work I'm on the right now I'm decision maker to make a lot of things in Thailand on road safety. I work for road safety about 25 years till now. And then I will stop after nobody die on the road. It means that until I die. The thing that's very important is young people are not just the most affected by road crash. And they are driving force to change. They are driving force to change. Their perspective, creativity, and ability to challenge the status quo make them essential stakeholders. In shaping road safety and sustainable mobility policy, they are not just victims. They are solution makers. This is important. And the energy and commitment of young youth have proven time and again the transformative from grassroots initiative to global advocacy, just like me in my province till now, I'm on global levels. And young leaders are active working to make roads safer. They leverage technology, social movements, and innovative strategy to drive impacts. Whether through digital campaign, this is the new way to contact with people, especially the young people. And community-led safety audits and pioneers new mobility solution. I tell you what, in last, global, the third national conference in Stockholm, I saw the young people were U2 at that time on the conference, and I impressed a lot. I think maybe I sleep for a long time to be. And when I saw the young people stand up in the conference room, it made me remember what important. At that time, I'm a minister. And I think that's my way to stand up in society and work. And I promised me at the time, nobody from Thailand. And I promised myself that time, next time I will take young people to join with your group. And right now there are 2 of them.
Wow, amazing.
This is the first time. And the challenge is, we need to talking about to be on the table. To be on the table, we have to consider 2 things. One thing is we don't let the system, just like government, people or society, to stop or to close the door. Another thing, we have to do, young people have to climb up to the table. If you're just sitting here and no one gonna lead you to the table to make decision making. For me, I'm just climbed to be here about more than 20 years, and in road safety, policy. So, I'm again, it's very important to young people because right now I'm get old, And as you make decision making on policy on road safety, but it's very hard to talk to young people in my country because we need to, just like social media, and so everything changed. So we need to consider, we need to together about young people and people that have, evidence on that and know how to make it. So I think, prove again that your question is, young people very important. Just like in my country, we lost about every year about 3,000 per year. And then I just impressed on the last in Stockholm that they said we will fight to help people in our age. So again, it's very important.
Yeah.
But we have to climb to the table
Absolutely.
ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Inspiring to see that in 2020 we set a precedent and we inspired some decision makers. So it's amazing to see. And then the message, crucially, is to involve the youth. I know a lot of the times decision makers tend to say, no, we know what you need, right? We don't need you to ask the questions. We'll tell you what you need. But we know that that doesn't work, right? And it's so impressive that you actually followed through and said, I'm going to bring some young leaders to this next assembly because we're still here, right? The young people are not going to go away. We're going to continue knocking doors. And I actually heard a phrase in the World Youth Assembly where it said, if you don't invite us to the decision-making table, we're going to bring a folding chair and we're going to take it ourselves. Or we're even going to build our own table and you come to our table, you know? So, yeah. So it's, it's inspiring to hear from these incredible decision makers. We're going to zoom in now into the local or at least the government perspective. So I want to go to Mr. Savan Kong. I think we all understand the power of young people. We were all young once. I'm not saying anything about you guys. I'm just saying we were all young. Robert gave the interesting example of him having a child himself. So we know we want to protect young people. We know that we care about them. We care about our families. We care about our future. And hopefully what most politicians and what most civil servants are doing is thinking of the next generation. We mean well in many cases. Often we do create these mechanisms to involve young people. But sometimes it doesn't quite work, and so we give up, right? So in your perspective, especially in the Cambodians' perspective, is how can governments ensure that youth are actively involved in shaping transport policy and being involved in the design, the implementation, the delivery, and of course the evaluation? What's the examples that we have from your own governmental experience?
So like the true case in Cambodia in the last couple of years and even now, we work very closely to bring the youth group up. We have the youth club at the high school, university, like part of the Cambodian Red Cross, the Youth Union Federation, and the other youth member that we work across the country, we call like road tractors. They are the youth from the university and also commit. So we work together through the youth, we build the capacity, we give a key message to them. First, you have to build the capacity, bring them in, and they start to understand how they can communicate among the youth effectively. Because the youth might have a different language, different perspective, and different way to talk and to convince other youth to address road safety in your country. So we always engage. And at the National Road Safety Committee, we have Cambodian Red Cross is also the permanent member that we work through them. So they can talk, they have a session, 2 or 3 class every week. And not just only at the city center, like through the project that I worked in the last couple of years, that I have to responsible for 263 school. It's ADB supported project to the Ministry of the Rural Development. So we engage the youth teacher and the parents. We form, after the training awareness tracing, we form a parents group to taking care during school hour, in and out, just helping how they can stop other driver in front of the school to ensure that the children will cross the road safely. We work with the teacher to maintain a meeting, regular meeting, and develop like a small program within their school, and how they can raise this message through the son, through the doctor, to the father, mothers, and this very effective. Even after that, we can see a very productive result, very promising, that if they continue this initiative, then we can see like a safer road within their community. So I can say from this model, we, like the government of the Cambodia, fully support any initiative, any collaboration that can engage youth to stand up and let the youth lead and play, as I mentioned earlier. And then you can see the result that we can make something different effectively. So thank you.
Incredible. So what I'm hearing is there needs to be those infrastructures in place that give young people a voice at the school level, at the community level, parents' involvement, and only in that way we can create those mechanisms of reaching back and forward, right? And speaking the language of young people. The language of young people is changing constantly, you know. I know if we talk about Gen Zs and some of the language that we hear there, if we want to connect with young people, we need to listen and understand that language to be able to connect with them in an effective way. Thank you, Mr. Kong. I'm going to move over to Avi from the FIA Foundation. Now, as you know, as one of the major funders in road safety, the FIA Foundation sees a lot of projects and funds a lot of different projects around the world. And a lot of those short-term solutions exist in the world of youth and road safety action. But what do you think we need to do to create that kind of scalable, sustainable funding for youth and road safety action, whether it's on a global level or on a national or local level? What would be your advice there?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, I'll start off by giving you a bit of a perspective of the experience that we had over the past few years. We did a lot of work with organisations around the world on the youth agenda. This goes back to pre-2019, I mean, going back 2017 and onwards. We were looking to really focus on this essential, fundamental point that road traffic injury is the biggest killer of young people globally, as we all know, and yet there is not that much focus on engaging young people and having young people prominently in initiatives worldwide, as I know that your agenda over this ministerial and way before this ministerial has looked at how can we really improve the level of youth engagement, and also this kind of prioritization of road safety generally to kind of make the case to governments that actually they should be thinking about their young youth populations, and if they want to think about their youth populations, one of the main priorities needs to be action on road traffic injury. So we looked at how we could try to work with other organisations on other priorities that they were looking at for young people, everything from youth participation through to mental health for young people, and areas like sexual reproductive health for young people as well. All the major priorities that governments and international institutions have been looking at, but make sure that road safety was really a major priority in that. And in doing that, we tried to really support an overall agenda that other organisations were interested in as well, in raising the level of funding generally for all of these priority issues, and make sure that road safety was a major part of all of that. And there was some good areas of success with all of that and good momentum that was built around all of that. There was a first ever global forum for adolescents and young people that I know Youth for Road Safety was involved in at the end of 2023. And there was some good initiatives and programs that organizations put forward, and there was some new national strategic planning around young people, involving young people themselves in many countries that I'm sure a few of you, or quite a few probably in the room and involved with Youth for Road Safety had some involvement with. We ourselves were really pleased with the work that was done in a number of countries, Mexico, South Africa, and other countries as well that were looking at really developing their youth policies that included road safety. Botswana was one of them, some good steps forward that were taken. But I think overall, what it showed us, the experience, was that the level of funding and support is still not there, generally across the board for youth issues. Coming into a world post-COVID where the level of serious mental health issues involving young people is hugely on the increase, where violence against young people, violence against girls was on the increase post-COVID, and where the road traffic injury epidemic is still at an unacceptably high level, particularly for young people, and not being addressed as it should be with the amount of funding. That experience showed us that there's a lot more to be done, and I think there's a big disparity between what some of the big funding organizations and governments, I have to say as well, what they say in terms of their commitment to young people, and we can just take it in terms of road safety, but we can take it in those other issues as well, what they say and what they do, and there's a huge disparity. There's a lot of well-meaning words. There's a lot of, we must engage young people, nothing about young people without young people, those kinds of slogans that are often repeated the whole time. But what is actually happening? A huge gap in all of that. It feeds into the work that we've been doing around financing on road safety as well. There's a kind of overall, and I think this is also relevant, highly relevant for the youth agenda, which is that overall that we've identified, and this is through work over many years with our partners, many of whom are in the room and at the ministerial as well, a huge gap in capacity for countries, for governments to be able to deliver the kinds of road safety that's needed. There may be financing for transportation, but that isn't translating into the action that's needed on road safety, to put it all in very brief and simple terms. We've got a whole agenda in a new report that we've published for the ministerial and all of that. And a lot of that could be addressed very effectively by really looking at what I said at the beginning in terms of supporting the capacity for, particularly for young professionals, I think we would emphasize, pathways for young people to go into, perhaps working with NGOs, people like, I'll single out a couple of examples. We have in the room, I can see at the moment, we have Amend, and they've been working with young engineers for a number of years. They have on their staff at the moment, Jacques. I think Jacques is in the room, potentially. He's waving. Yeah, Jacques is in the room. That's great. Jacques Amacha. And what he's done is transform the way that Amend has worked with data and is working with AI around the school area assessments that they do. And he's done some tremendous work, and Amend's done some great work as a whole around getting drones up to really be able to do the school area assessments really effectively. And we're all facing huge pressures of funding and capacity Amend as an NGO, we support them. They're always looking for more capacity and support to be able to do what they do. But having solutions like that and having somebody like Jack come in, a recent graduate, be able to take an innovative approach to all of this. There are other examples as well, countless organizations and NGOs that we work with around the world through the Child Health Initiative that my colleague Sani, who's here today, is leading, and really trying to combine the kind of practical solutions on the ground, create a community of practice that really heavily focuses on the younger end of the spectrum of practitioners and professionals, putting the kind of solutions in place that works, is what the Child Health Initiative has been doing really well, and we want to do a lot more of. The big step that we want to see is connecting that to the decision makers and to the sources of finance to enable us to do this much better at scale and have much more of an impact. And for us, we know that young people need to be, young professionals in particular, need to be at the forefront of all of that, and that will make a huge difference to the impact that we can get out of the financing. And just a final point, which is to say it's not necessarily a case of having more financing, and we all want more financing, but I think we're going into the next 5 years, and let's probably be realistic. The outlook on financing globally is not going to be great. I don't want to be too downbeat and pessimistic, but let's be realistic about where we are at the moment with, some big countries to the west where they have presidents in charge that are not going to be financing this kind of work globally, and didn't to start with, but the kind of development funding is going to be severely under pressure over the next few years. But we have to be much smarter about how we use the existing financing, and young people, young professionals have a huge role to play in that, and connecting in with with areas like the big public transportation funding that will still need to be there, but making better use of it to make sure we get pedestrian safety and safety for vulnerable road users and non-motorised transport, active mobility into that is going to be critical, so that we can kind of keep those agendas effective. Connecting road safety with the climate agenda, which we know is something that all of you at Youth for Road Safety pretty much have been looking at, and is a fundamental priority for us, and young people need to be at the forefront of all of that kind of work. We're going to continue supporting it, encouraging partners like Amend with Jacques and others, and we have our own youth ambassador Oliver here, who's basically leading so much of our work in East and Sub-Saharan Africa. She's here in the audience. I do encourage you to speak to her. We're doing what we can, but we are trying to encourage other organizations to do the same. Sorry, it's a long answer.
Yeah, well, thank you, Avi. Connect with each other. You know, Oliver started her journey at the Global Youth Coalition, you know, as a young leader, as somebody from a small village in Uganda. And investing in young people gives you that opportunities to really work with, not just with yours, but with so many other organizations who can really lead that change moving forward. So thank you, and thank you, Avi, for your comments as well. So I want to go to Blanca now, Vice Mayor Blanca Lopez. As I mentioned, you're a young person yourself, 24 years old, a decision maker within the space of a local context, a local town, and it's incredible actually to see that in action, because we hear about young people taking that step forward as decision makers, you know, but actually getting that power and getting that feeling of how can I then extend that power to other young people, and how can we listen to other young people? So in your experience, what do local governments, what can they actually do to ensure that young people play a leading role in road safety? Now, I know you already mentioned that young people need to be at the table because of the routes to school, the routes to university. They need to have their say on all those different things to make sure they are safe. But what's been your experience, especially in Ecuador, of how young people are engaged in local decision making for road safety.
Ya. Bueno, como bien lo acabas de mencionar, creo que nosotros desde los municipios debemos de pasar de la teoría, de las ideas, a la práctica, a la ejecución. Por eso considero que es importante que primero las municipalidades asumamos e incorporemos en nuestras agendas la participación ciudadana como un eje primordial en la construcción de las políticas públicas que mejoren las condiciones de vida de nuestra población. Las autoridades, si bien somos tomadoras de decisiones,
We make decisions. We are not, but we are only here temporarily. We need to engage youth and ensure that our efforts last in time and be sustainable, that the benefits be sustainable for the future. We can only build the future with the youth. We have considered the youth of our town and put them in and given them a crucial role to make them active partners in this transformation. We are the future pedestrians. We are the future drivers. We are the future decision makers. We also have an innovative and creative vision. We are heavily committed to our communities, which means that we are crucial allies in sustainable urbanism. In my town, we have worked on 2 important projects which have already been implemented. We cannot rest on our laurels or keep to speeches saying we need the voice of youth and then not involve them. We did it the other way. We were active. And one of the most interesting projects is the Mobility Observatory. Here's a flyer for the our town of Guayaquil. You can find it on internet. This is an active tool which provides a dashboard for up-to-date data on road accidents in our town. This tool facilitates the collection and sharing of data and is also a research tool for academia. Today, we have dozens of young people who visit the observatory's website to get the data that they need for their research projects and present proposals to the local authorities, and then can claim that their proposals are data-driven and fact-based. We have therefore taken on board the technical aspects and the citizen interest, as well as the training and capacity building of the youth. Second project, which I find quite interesting, and maybe many of you know it already, is the design of the safe urban roads. This work was conducted in Guayaquil, our city, with the active participation of the students of the architecture department, both public and private. And this design, this technical manual, was designed not only by international experts, but also by people who have made the link with the reality in the field, thanks to the young people who have applied these theories to the local reality. We're the first city in the world to have such a technical manual that has been designed in partnership between universities and the youth. This is a glaring example of how we can move from theory to practice on practical topics, not generalities, but practical topics. Apologies, I'm getting a bit emotional. And the changing of temperatures is getting to me. So if I may, ultimately, this guide for safe streets will take us to a more sustainable mobility, and will realize the dreams of youth who wish for a green, welcoming, and safe city. And we are currently realizing this dream thanks to the precious participation of the youth in our town. So yes, it was complex. It required a lot of time, a lot of effort, but it was necessary to get practical, useful, technical results so that we can inherit the city that we dream of. So how can authorities involve the youth? Well, you get everybody around the same table. Dream and plan. And to this end, it is crucial that authorities and decision makers must keep the door open and include the people for whom these decisions are made, in particular the youth who will be leading the transformation we are building today. I think it is crucial that we do this. I am not the only local authority representative. I call upon the local authorities from around the world to design programs that include youth in a participatory, technical, and responsible way. And this must be done from the heart to ensure that we provide sustainable cities through the implication of the youth. The two examples that I've provided, such as the road design guide and this observatory dashboard, will ensure that the youth are actively engaged and can appropriate urban design for themselves. And it is also important that now they know this work, they can require from authorities that they respect these parameters and guidelines. So future commitment is crucial, and in our city we are very proud of moving forward and delighted to be able to share it with you today. Thank you very much.
Of how a young person also in that position in a local in the local council as a vice mayor, Blanca Lopez, is really inspiring to hear you speak about it so passionately as well. Data, of course, is the place to start, right? Without the data, we can't necessarily know what the issues are from an evidence-based perspective. And at the same time, involving youth clubs, involving people through universities and so on that you've mentioned, is a clear example of how local governments can engage with young people to create the dreams that Ms. Lopez mentioned, the dream cities that we think of, that we thrive for, that we are aiming for, the aspirations around it. So thank you for being an incredible leader in that space. And I think it goes to show that when young people actually step into those spaces, they open the doors for other young people. And we need to remember that we always need to do that and encourage young people to step into those positions as well. So we're really honored to hear your perspective, and congratulations on those two really incredible projects. So we're going to go to Thailand, a beautiful country, one of my favorite countries, to be honest, that I've ever visited. Not just its natural beauty, but the people and the atmosphere and the society that it creates, this nurturing society that I noticed when I was there myself. From your perspective, what kind of examples or scenarios have you seen of young people engaged in road safety decision making or policy making, and how have they been involved in that kind of design and implementation? What's been the benefits? What's been the examples that you've seen?
Thailand, my country, we made significant progression on the youth for so many years. We have right now in my ministry, I'm the chair of advisor group of Minister of Social Development and Human Security. In that ministry, we have the Children and Youth Council of Thailand. It took a long time. The very strength, I mean, really big. We got the members around 300,000, you know. I mean, in every province, in every local. And for that, in 77 provincial and 3,000 sub-district council. And actually, for organization for the youth, it took so long when just like this, in that my time when I'm youth. I'm organized leader of the organization like this before, when I was young. But right now it's still here. But we start on road safety just about after I came back from Stockholm. And then we move and we give just to move them to go to road safety. Because of, we do everything, the council is work in everything, but for road safety, we just start that. And then for the use of road safety, it means that right now we have the strong institution for that already. A long time and broadly in the nationwide. But the second thing is that we need to focus on to make the youth to go in this way. It's just not only the strong of the group together, but finance. The finance is very important. In Thailand, we have the funding support, just like in the people from, just like both of young people from my country came from the funding from ministry. And we have the funding, I mean, every year. But right now, I just changed because I'm the leader of the advisory board, to change to put in young people in the council to go to road safety. So like we try to move it. And then for this, it means that in the ministry, we have every annual budget. It's up to how we make it more. But the finance, the road safety fund is very, I use it after I came back from Stockholm. The fund is, I create myself. I mean, on the 2003, I made the license plate, auction on license plate. And just like the number that people like, just like 9999, we made on that about $8 million for just only 9999. And right now, the fund, those funds, we collect the money about 20,000 million baht. It took about in US dollar is $875 million for those. And we just put the money for those because I decided the law to put on everything is about road safety. And we just make it to the province, and we just let 200,000 million right now in every year. And we just looking for the project that belong to youth first. This is the policy on that. So this can support a lot. And we still have the health promotion funding is come along with just like together with my funding. We can have more than 100 million baht per year for young people. This is the policy too. That it means that we open, right, to the young people. It's up to young people. Do you have any project or not? If you can create the project, we can give you the money. And the addition is we have the just like organizations like Rotary. We have a lot of 400 Rotary Club in Thailand right now. Right now, they're just looking for young people, looking for the project, and they just move and then put the money for them. And out of that, we have the grassroots policy on and behavior that we have to just like one is strong organization and broadly. Second is funding. It not mean up and every year is a long-term finance, and then the strong activity just like with the club, just like with NGO, just like Rotary. We have everything on that, and then I think we can make it to another country. It's worth. It's just again, it means that if we can create a structural youth council in national and local level, it can work in every country. But this is because of just one youth or young people. If they are alone or about the group of 20, they can work. We need together, just like a group that nationwide or local and together, so they can just like the small branch together is really strong and really can move a lot. And another thing, it provides sustainable funding. We need, because young people, they don't have any money for themselves. The government have to give them, just like your foundation have to keep them to move. But that thing it come along with the older, just like when you are younger and then you get old, and then the next, your brother just come. So the funding that very, long lasting is going to help to make them just, they have to learn to work and learn and work, just like that. And then another thing is multi-sectoral collaboration. Try to make the NGO to support them. We have to do that. And then ensure the multi-sector in every just government, local government organization, just like the NGO and just like Rotary Club and everything, together just like to take care of our children. We need to have the long arms to get them together and use them. To do the thing, to prevent themselves, to prevent, and then, like I said right now, the generation gap, the decision making people is up, and then almost of them are old, and they can understand the young people, and then our problem is just helmet, and young people, they never wear helmet. Maybe they want to wear to look smart, look beauty about their hair. So it's very dangerous. So we have to move. Let people say, voice. Young people, the word that they say to their young generation is not the same like we say. Yeah. So very important. So I think the pattern of Thailand, it can work in everywhere. Yeah. Thank you.
It's an incredible example of how you can organize youth in a country. Not just at a local level, but also at the subcommittee level, the regional level, and touching on something that Avi mentioned as well, is connecting it to other topics as well. Sexual reproductive health, connecting it to health, connecting it to the education that people get in the schools, and similarly to what Blanca mentioned, is having that infrastructure in place means that you have a pool of young people to tap into. But one thing that you mentioned that I think is super important is that you invest in it. You put the money in. And if this is an example for people in the room to say, Thailand can do it, they're investing in the future of youth, and this is corresponding to a reduction in road traffic crashes with young people, particularly that age group as well, then why can't we do it as well? And I know a lot of governments do have those initiatives, but a lot of people just say, yeah, you carry on, you do it, right? Whereas in the Thai example, it's bringing them all together, but also investing in it as well. So I think that's an excellent example, and thank you so much for sharing that. Robert, you've been at the World Youth Assembly for the past week, or it feels like a week, it's only 3 days ago. But yeah, you've been here for 2 days with us in the World Youth Assembly, and you're an active member of the Global Youth Coalition. Of course, you do your own work in Canada as well as a youth representative. What do you see? And as from the youth perspective, what are those challenges that we want to kind of overcome to overcome these traditional status quo of road safety and something that was mentioned earlier, the business as usual. So how do you see young people reshaping road safety in your example?
Well, I think there's been a lot of great discussion so far, and we really talked about the value of youth and the importance of involving them. And I want to talk a little bit more about some of the impact of youth and some of the examples that we see in Canada, and then some other that was mentioned at the Youth Assembly recently. So we know that road traffic injuries are the leading cause of death for youth. So we really know that they have a stake involved in this matter. And we also know that youth want their voice heard, right? They want to claim their space. And there's evidence for this. So as you mentioned, we had the Youth Assembly a few days ago, and there was 150 youth, 70 different countries there, really claiming their space. And I think another way we can look at this is look at the growth of the youth coalition in general over the last 5 years. So I joined the coalition when it was kind of first initiated, but I wasn't there at that last assembly. But we see now there's over 2,700 members representing 130 different countries. 3,000 youth voices have been involved in some of the consultations and contributed to the statement that we just released. And it was mentioned that over 300,000 euros went directly to youth-led local actions, which is amazing. So this really shows, the impact that youth can have. Now, another thing I want to mention relates to a little bit about the next generation and the importance of investing in them. Because when you invest in youth, it really helps shape our future tomorrow. So one of the first-hand examples of this was in 2007, there was the first Youth Assembly for Road Safety. And some of you might not know this, but Transport Canada actually funded 8 students and 8 youth from Canada to attend that assembly. And part of the momentum and excitement from that was coming back to Canada and establishing this youth road safety group. About 10 years later, I joined that group. It's now known as the Canadian Association of Road Safety Professionals, the Young Professionals Committee, and currently I lead that group. And without that initial investment, sending those initial students, I wouldn't be here today speaking to you. And there wouldn't be hundreds of youth involved in being able to consent to the conference and present and show some of the research and some of the work that they're doing. And there wouldn't be hundreds of youth participating in our professional development and then mentorship programs to really help train that next generation of road safety professionals. So that just shows some impact there. Now, some other examples here in Canada, one of the organizations that helped provide funding also for this event was Parachute Canada. And they're Canada's national injury prevention agency. And there's a lot of work that they do. One of them is they established a Canadian Youth Road Safety Council to strengthen some of the initiatives that they use across their advocacy and intervention work. And they also publish guidance for other countries to help be able to establish their own Youth Road Safety Council, and also published a framework in terms of meaningful youth engagement. There's a recent initiative that they launched called Snap for Change, which I think is really interesting. Any youth across Canada can take a photo of a road safety issue, send it to their local minister or government agency or even enforcement, and they can get some financial compensation for it. So it's a really great initiative to actually show, what are some issues that we see firsthand on the road that, policymakers and so might not actually see. Now, in my own work as a researcher, I've developed a youth collaborative board to lead some of the research projects. I'm coming kind of from that academic background, and they really help provide value in terms of research development, implementation, and then dissemination. Now, I want to also take this opportunity to mention some other youth examples that I've heard in the past couple of days. So one of them over here, which was funded by yours for a local action, was from Nepal, where youth conducted a road safety audit. They implemented a Love 30 campaign to reduce streets in the capital area, and then they built capacity for training other people. Another example presented from India was a youth-led initiative to empower young people and understand the importance of road safety, and it affected over 1,900 youth. Now, another example here in Morocco that I heard about was youth leading a road safety survey to identify some of the issues and then develop an advocacy toolkit for decision makers. So these are just 3 of the local initiatives that are funded by yours, and it really shows the impact that youth can have on road safety and really, push the road safety agenda forward and claim our space.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Robert. And I didn't actually know that you were a part of the 2007 group, or at least were influenced by that first group that came over. So that's, wow, that illustrates that, small seeds, small pieces of participation, small ideas of bringing people together, even just initiating it, even just starting road safety projects all these years later can have this impact and spiral and snowball into so many different types of youth action in a country and in a community. So I think, just looking at the clock, I know we started a little bit late, but I'm going to just give maybe 5 or 6 minutes for questions from the audience. So if anybody has any questions, we have decision makers, we have, key road safety foundations, we have government representatives here, we have a young person. If you have any particular questions that you want to ask, or you think, how did you do this, or how did you get into the position that you're in, I'm just kind of throwing the questions out now. But if you guys have any questions from the audience, my colleague's going to be here with a roving mic. So anybody have a question? Yeah, at the front. Just let us know who the question's targeted to, and then we can ask our panelists to answer.
Yeah, very interesting in this discussion. I would like to ask a little bit more about your explanation, because to engage the youth inside the road is very important. And you're talking about the youth who take photo, right? And then send the picture to the local government, and then they have some motivation or like financial support. Please explain a little bit more for the detail. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for the question. I also want to mention that Parachute's Director of Programs, Valerie's over here, so she's going to be able to provide like the most detailed explanation for that. So I encourage you to chat with her afterwards. But from my understanding of it, they gave us little cards, and they have QR codes, and we're sharing the message where any youth can go take a photo of like a road safety issue. So let's say it might be like a crosswalk that doesn't actually have a crosswalk. It might be an area, even from what I remember going to school, there was an area where we had to jaywalk every day. So that'd be a great example that I can take a photo of. I would send it to Parachute to use in some of their materials, and also send an email or a message to a local minister or road safety authority saying, this is an issue and we want you to address this issue. And I think the important part too is that youth who are doing this also do receive a bit of financial compensation for it, because you're taking time from your own day to do some of this, so it really inspires youth, and it provides some source of motivation for some of them who might not have that initial inspiration in the road safety field.
Incredible. It's a great example, and there's also really some great kind of technological advances in the world of, for example, star ratings for school, the work that IRAP does, the SARSAI methodology that Amend has, that really empowers your everyday person. I know some of these need a little bit more technical understanding and technical knowledge, but it gives people, like exactly what Robert's saying, the opportunity to, crowdsource the data, of where the problems are. That's an incredible example, and it's great that young people are participating in it. Yes, sir, we have a question from yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's for our colleague from Ecuador. How do you get resources allocated to road safety programs? With so many challenges that you have, how do you manage to do that?
Thank you very much for this question. Well, as a town, we have many challenges. Reality is a daily obstacle when it comes to implementing the solutions that we would like to see implemented. We did find amongst the international community some solutions. For example, the Bloomberg Philanthropy, who were our main partners when it comes to road safety. We were able to launch many infrastructure programs with positive results that have significantly reduced accidents, especially close to school, where parents would found it difficult to accompany their children because there were so many accidents. But thanks to this financing and a partnership with Bloomberg, we now have 3 points in Guayaquil with the support of the Guayaquil town authorities. We were also able to reduce traffic accidents. Thanks again to Bloomberg Philanthropy financing. And it is such partners are particularly crucial as they have provided funding for dissuasion operations, and we are now in a second phase which has enabled us to reach results. And we were able to get the required equipment, and as Robert highlighted, we were also able to implement an application which is called VIPA, V-I-P-A, which allows citizens, as they walk around town, to report anomalies that they can notice, maybe the lack of a crosswalk or a pedestrian crossing. Maybe the traffic lights are not working. A car with no license plate. And youth, as students, or adults for that matter, can report such issues through this application. And this was enabled by the support of international partners, which is why it is very important that we partake in events such as these so that we can strengthen such alliances and reach those results that we aim to achieve.
I hope that answered your question. Gentleman in the well, he's talking to somebody now, but that's okay. The question is, and I suppose some of the solutions that Ms. Lopez has mentioned is connecting just beyond your countries as well. You know, connecting to philanthropies, organizations. You know, there's lots of these people available and around at this moment at the venue, at this ministerial, and it's a case of networking as well, right? To have that opportunity to talk with these different opportunities to invest in local solutions. I think we have one more question. Unfortunately, I think we are going to be running out of time, so we'll have this last question, and then I encourage you to come and speak to our panelists, and of course connect with each other as well. Yes.
Thank you, Manfred. Dear speakers, my name is Estiara. I'm from the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety from Indonesia. This question is intended to maybe one of the speakers from the government side. I would like to know, because we know that every government, every position has its own period. So maybe you can say, yes, we are integrating young voices into the policy-making decision, and that I really appreciate it. But once your position is over and there is a new one that replacing you, how do you ensure the commitment, the sustainability to integrating young voices into the policy-making decision process. Thank you.
It's a massive problem, isn't it? You invest all this time and energy into making these relations, and then an election happens and everybody disappears, right? And it's very, very difficult. I think we'll go to Cambodia, Mr. Kong, to tell us a little bit about how you manage that kind of challenge.
Thank you. Very good question. And this is what I always think about when I work for road safety. When I was young, I started in 2008. This is a big question that normally asks how to ensure the sustainability from one generation to another. So like for this case, you have to make sure that a long-term investment and a sustainable model should be designed into a comprehensive project or program, road safety implementation that engage the youth together with the senior, with the ministry, what the youth really want, how they want to communicate. And from generation to another generation, like you're talking about Gen Z and maybe the next generation, how you can design about a technology platform to fit the youth. For example, now the youth, they like to play with the device. Might be the way that we communicate to the youth should be in a different way. How to encourage them to adapt the safety practice key message by playing their device, enjoy their device, and then they can gain a point that will be a support from the development partner, the foundation, like also thanks to the Bloomberg philanthropy that also support to Cambodia and other countries that we can engage the youth to start to talk about road safety. We have to acknowledge this is a great support to the world from the Bloomberg philanthropy, and hopefully this will be continue from the other foundation, the Bloomberg Foundation, and also a good model from Thailand just mentioned, how you can generate from a special number plate for funding. So this could be integrated into the policy paper from the youth, a concrete program from at the global and the regional level that we can that youth can work together, because might be many other countries we are still have a critical challenges in obtain sustainable funding to implement by the youth. So like Cambodia is also the same. We have a committed youth that want to work in road safety, but funding still challenge for them. So we have to bring this all good point to put into one program. We work along the line, and I'm sure this can create a success, and from generation to generation. So the next minister will fully understand about why youth and road safety is so important. So one more example, I worked in 2011 with the former officer on road safety. We work on the night for the drink driving and helmet wearing enforcement. And now he become the Deputy Prime Minister, the chairman of our Cambodian National Road Safety Committee. So he's still highly committed. He always talk about road safety. So he appoint me. I'm working for the international and the local NGO, my background from the WHO, Global Road Safety Partnership. And we also formed one local organization called Cambodia Safety Solution Organization that bring those who used to work in road safety together and bring the youth. We work with the youth. We work with the Rotary and road tractors to promote road safety and other public health issue. So when he jumping up into that high-level position, he bring me in. So you become the advisor to the National Road Safety Committee. So think about what we can do together to save life on the roads. So I think this is might be a good point. Again, comprehensive program implementation should be designed and bring all the good practice and good example from other country like in Thailand to integrate together, and we implement from the global and regional level to the country. So that will create a sustainable success. Plus, like a sustainable mechanism should talking about like something that you can generate a profit to maintain a program implementation in the future. Might be the business perspective they have a way to support the youth and the road safety program implementation. So we need all the support, we need all the expertise to put their great input into this comprehensive program together. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your questions. So we're going to wrap up. We are a little bit over time, so I just want to ask for maybe one. I know this is difficult to wrap up such a broad topic and such a nuanced topic, so many different facets to it in a couple of sentences. But it's a challenge to everybody to try and do that. But maybe in a couple of sentences, what can you do as decision makers, as decision makers in this field of road safety, as foundations, as young people, as elected representatives as well? What is it that you can do to commit to this cause of meaningful youth participation in road safety and really pushing the ideas of youth-led initiatives that are not just heard, but also actively integrated into policies and implementation? It's quite a big question, and if you can answer it in a couple of sentences, that'd be great, and then we can wrap up the session. So maybe we start in this direction, and we start with Thailand.
It's something that I want to share with the young people about the responsibility for the work of government. The government is the politician that control the policy, is seasoning, is up and on. We can say, I work for this, a long time, and some minister from Philippines, next time we lost him. So it changed from time to time. So if you need some word to promise, but next time they just gone, what you gonna do? I share for important thing is the youth have to get together, strong and long lasting. The government is never long lasting. I just myself that I long lasting 25 years on road safety. But you need to control the government. You have to control just like the doctor try to find out the problem of this country. Just like we find the nail, we know what to put on, and the government is hammer. But people have to, the hammer never touch the nail itself. We need to hand, and those hand is for people. So the youth have to tell people to take the hammer to put on. Always, because of, remember, the promise is never real, because of next time they just go and go and go, just like that. So important for the government is this, remember.
Incredible. What a powerful metaphor as well. You know, the hand. Who represents the hand? Is it you? Is it the government? Is it the young people? They need to make that action happen, right? I was just reflecting on your message. I'm not asking you another question. It's okay. Thank you so much. It's a brilliant example. Avi, let's go over to you. What could you do as an organization, as a foundation, to move that?
What can we do? I think the two words would be practical action, and what we mean by that, I think I'll bring it down to the level of people, really, which you know, people like, I mean, we actually just heard from Estiara. It's great to hear from Estiara here. Quite inspirational, the work she's doing with the Ministry of Transport in Indonesia. I think having support for people like Estiara, actually for political leaders as well, like Blanca, to come through and to be able to really shape the policies and the financing that needs to be in place. I mean, that's what we're interested in doing moving forwards, working with a whole variety of partners of ours, as I say, many of whom are right here now, to be able to support them and look for where the major gaps are that we need to fill, so that we've got the kind of sustainable programs in place that can really deliver the kind of outcomes that are needed in terms of reducing road traffic injuries and fatalities. So the key focus is the practical action and the people and the organisations that we know that can deliver change. For us, that's what we know needs to be done in the years ahead.
Avi.
¿Continúo? ¿Sí? Ok. Bueno, yo creo que primero debe, nuevamente desde el rol.
I believe that we should speak to the role of local authorities. We need to unify the politics, and people and these politicians have to respect their word. If we are committed to reducing the mortality on roads and involving youth in the decision making, we need to identify the table. We need to identify the mechanisms, the best partnerships. We must respect our word and work collectively. In Guayaquil, I really like my city because in Guayaquil we are doing good work, which requires much time, clearly. But we are moving forward in bounds and leaps to facilitate mobility. Thanks also to the involvement of youth, and we continue a dialogue. As I arrived here, I recognize many young people with whom we've had long and productive dialogue. I met them yesterday or today in Guayaquil. They told me they have a project, which is just a draft for the moment, focusing on road safety. And as local authority, as municipality, it's something that we haven't yet focused on. So we would like to collaborate, to continue dialogue, to continue to work collectively towards the design of solutions adapted to Guayaquil, a sustainable city. Our commitment is within this framework. Respect for the word given and looking at all these different perspectives and projects designed by youth, and continue to work towards this future we are dreaming of and remain at the cutting edge of the response to upcoming challenges.
Really concrete examples of being proud of the place you're from and the city you're from and investing in it. So that's super important. Okay, the challenge of going in this direction is that the time gets less and less and less as we get to the end. So I apologize to my last two speakers, but if you can, in a couple of sentences, that would be fantastic. What can we do and to commit to this cause of bringing youth to the table?
Yeah, okay, this is going to be quick. I encourage everyone, so not just youth, but also policymakers in government, to read, accept, and share the Global Youth Statement for Road Safety that we did the other day. And just quickly, the theme for this statement was a turning point, and we want to redefine the road ahead. And also, give youth a seat at the table. And if you don't know how to involve them in a meaningful way, there's resources for that. Like yours has an amazing policymakers toolkit, and as I mentioned, Parachute has another one. So utilize those, and don't reinvent the wheel, and be able to actually, involve youth meaningfully. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to plug that, but you beat me to it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Last,
okay,
but not
okay, thank
least.
you. I'm the last one. So I think we get all the great inputs from the platform today. So hopefully we will put all this into action, into a strong policy paper that we can use as a strong tool to advocate and play a soft diplomacy in the countries, in the region, and that will benefit through youth participation across the globe with our comprehensive youth for road safety program. But last but not least, might be we think about the integration of stay safe, stay equal, that we also engage gender into transport safety and road safety as well. So I think this might be, because we want the people to communicate, we want all gender to communicate effectively for a safer road in our world. So thank you.
Amazing, incredible. Thank you so much to my panelists. Robert mentioned it earlier. If you're thinking about, I want to involve young people, the arguments for it are plentiful. The examples that you've seen are leading to real change. We do have a whole stream of advocacy work at yours, youthforoadsafety.org. Policymakers Toolkit that was mentioned by Robert as well, that tells you as decision makers, how do we engage with young people? What are the principles? How do we create a safe and sustainable, equitable kind of space for young people to engage? And then as young people, we have the Advocacy and Campaigns Toolkit. How do you engage with young leaders from the other side? So creating that pressure from top to the bottom, and hopefully in the middle we see some change happening as well. And of course, I just want to say one more time, thank you to Nicole Shamnong from Thailand, Blanca Lopez from Ecuador, Avi Silverman FIA Foundation, Savannah Kong from Cambodia, and Robert Colonna, our youth representative. Thank you for being here with us, and please keep in touch. We're going to just end with a picture with our global youth statement. So if you can just grab a few. We mentioned some policy statements, so we have one here that was endorsed only a few hours ago, well, a few days ago, and endorsed here at the ministerial a few hours ago. So if we just give a few out, we'll take a group picture, and then, yeah, enjoy your lunch, and thank you for joining us in this session.